Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I am showing you another one of these fun new cards from the upcoming Shining Legend set. It's Marshadow, and he will judge you. Now, Marshadow is a psychic-type Pokemon, which is good because it means you're hitting weakness on Garbodor, which is a good thing right now, although to be perfectly honest, you're not really going to be attacking with him anyway. He is weak to Dark, however, which is nice. He's only got 70 HP, which on the one hand means he can be grabbed with Level Ball, on the other hand means he's going to be KO'd. But what I do like about this is that if your opponent's playing the baby of Yveltal, hey Nick, you're not going to be KO'd by a single Oblivion Wing. And that could actually be quite an important thing. And resistance to fighting is nice, because resistance is always nice. You get to just fend off a bit of damage, and there's no real downside. Now, his attack here, for a psychic and a colourless energy, you get to do 30 damage, and it's not affected by resistance. Now, it's nice that it goes straight through resistance, but you're doing 30 damage for 2 energy. It's not particularly good. It's not going to get you very far. 30 for 2 is terrible. But there's an ability here, which is absolutely not terrible. When you play Marshadow to your bench, both players shuffle their hands into their decks and draw 4 cards. It's Judge in ability form, or indeed, it's this old Giratina. Now, one thing I must mention straight off the bat, don't use Bridget to search for Marshadow. Now, I know nowadays everyone's very excited about using Tapu Lele to grab a Bridget, turn 1, and they should be. It's a really good thing to do, but Bridget puts Pokemon straight onto your bench, and if you put Marshadow straight onto your bench, you are not getting the benefit of the ability here. That is very bad. It's also an ability on a basic, which means it will be turned off by Garbodor and Hexmaniac, but it will also be turned off by Alolan Muck and Silent Lab. And even if Silent Lab and Hexmaniac get rotated out as we expect them to by the time this card comes out, Alolan Muck and Garbodor. Really quite annoying, ladies and gentlemen. But this ability is playable. And you would play Marshadow purely for the ability. And the reason is very simple. It's a turn 1 thing. The ideal situation here is you go first. You set up so you get all the basics out, you get an energy down, maybe you attach a couple of tools, and then you play Marshadow. And instead of your opponent starting with, say, a 6-card hand, because they draw a hand of 7-player basic and have 6, they now start with a 4-card hand, meaning it's less likely they've got what they want to start their turn. And it's not a new thing for people to be using Judge on the first turn of the game to put their opponent down to a low hand size and try and make sure they can't do anything. People have been doing it with Judge, now you can do it with Marshadow. And I really like the idea of combining this with something like Alolan Vulpix, or the Shaman that I did a video about yesterday. Shaman allows you to shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards, and Alolan Vulpix for 0 energy allows you to search your deck for 2 Pokemon and put them into your hand. And of course you could search for something like a Tapu Lele ready to grab a supporter next turn. So what you essentially do is you set up, you play Marshadow to put your opponent down to a low hand size, and then you use a setup attack. Now, I must remind you, of course, that you cannot attack if you go first. But my point is that if you go first, your opponent hopefully has a very bad turn, and then either you draw into something, or you've got a Pokemon ready to go, because you set up to be ready to be Marshadow down to 4. But your opponent wasn't set up because they haven't had a turn. Now, if you're going second, of course, you can just use Marshadow, put them to a hand of 4, and then immediately use something like a Shaman or an Alolan Vulpix. But if you go first and you can't use them now, you can have them ready to go, so that if you're both drawing nothing, you're set up to get out of it, whereas your opponent isn't. And Marshadow is a very simple card, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to be able to spin this into a 10-minute video. I don't like the attack. I do like that he can be searched with Level Ball. I do like that he's a basic. And I love the fact that you can use the ability here to really stop your opponent before they've even got started. As a side note, one thing if you are playing Marshadow you may wish to consider is Pokemon Fan Club. It's kind of like Bridget, But there's two important differences. Number one, you get 2 Pokemon rather than 3. Boo. Number 2, you can have them in your hand. So you can grab something like a Marshadow and use the ability, which you can't do with Bridget. I am giving Marshadow a classic free Wossies. It's a stereotypical free Wossie card. You want 1 or 2 copies in your binder, you might tech it into a deck. This is a kind of thing that can win you a bad matchup before you've even got going, because your opponent just doesn't draw into anything and you take a quick win. It's got to be worth testing in a deck or 2. Now, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. If you got anything to say, if you agree, disagree, have any ideas, that's why there's a comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, @TheWossie. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to this video. And go follow me on twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. Join in some live stream action. Videos are fun. Live streams are better. The most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.